I thought it was the opposite.
No,
Right,
no, I don't care. That was gold. Someone would have enjoyed that. Actually, they would have all been
Well, you say
people
that, but
similar
like,
to you, Bo, and would be like glazed over. What are we talking about?
when we live
Sorry,
stream on Twitch, one of the big things that they had before was like they put up Bob Ross, and now recently they're putting up Mr. Dress Up's neighborhood up on Twitch every single
Mr.
day.
Rogers.
Ones?
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers, whatever, they're all the same. But anyway, and then people will get like really into it and be watching episodes and commenting on it. So yeah, Twitch is full of people that want to nerd out on a lot of different things. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's avid Paw Patrol followers. Actually, Ryan Murphy's status on Facebook right now is with regards to like he's like, my kid's sick, so we're visiting Adventure Bay, and it's a photo of them watching Paw Patrol. I'm like, Paw Patrol, it just won't leave me alone.
It does suck. It's my least favorite show so far that I've watched.
Okay.
But it's so popular. There must be something that's tweaking in a child's brain.
Catchphrases.
And they're so
show
bad
is
too.
90% catchphrases.
No job is too big, no pup is too small. It's
Rubble on the double. Let's take to the sky.
They annoy me so much, all of them.
Is that from
Maybe
Paw Patrol?
We should have more catchphrases on this show.
Is that one from Paw Patrol that you just said?
Which one?
All those were from Paw
I don't
Patrol.
know. The sky. We're in the sky.
Let's take
Rubble
to the
on
sky.
the double. Chase is on the case. So lame.
Lord.
Ours could be like, Bogue, what the hell are you talking about? That could be one of ours.
Hey, Mike, let me guess who your favorite papa is. Is it Rocky?
I was thinking about that. I think it probably is, but that's just sort of obvious.
Yeah, Rocky
He's
is
a recycling man.
yes, but
He
for the
doesn't do
record,
shit though.
no, Rocky's the best man. In my opinion, he's the best pup.
Don't lose it, reuse it.
Yeah.
That's a stretch too. I'm like, what does that even mean? They just were looking for a fucking rhyme.
Also, like, they'll come into these situations, and sometimes I'll be like, how are they really going to get out of this? I realize that Rocky is a crutch because he seems to have the answer to everything in the back of his truck. They're like, Ryder will be like, Rocky, do you have something that could get us out of this situation? And Rocky's like, let me check, Ryder.
Here's something I found in the garbage. It'll work perfectly.
Oh,
I also find that Ryder does everything pretty much. And I'm like,
he is. Gwen, I'm like, who's your favorite pup? She's like, Ryder. I'm
she's
like,
right.
he's not a pup, but he's the best. I'm like, it's true. But the thing is, at one point, all the kids that do the voices will age out, and they'll start having new voice actors. It will mess with your head.
Well, I
Ryder
thought it
gets
was
voice
adults that did. It was like adult women do boy voices in cartoons and stuff.
It might be that. I feel like they probably thought about that a little bit. But
It's not children that do it.
So, in some way, or maybe it was some kid along the line who's like, wow, this show is super popular. Everybody's into it. Maybe they'll pay me more than minimum wage. And they're like, nope.
Bam!
They said "bam" after.
Was that a bam? It's funny, that was making fun of a car commercial, and I'm like, it's not even annoying enough. Like, that's how bad the car commercials are. Okay, let's get the show on the road, Bo. Is you?
Yeah. And we can maybe today's topic will be children's shows, and you guys will be really pleased about that.
I mean, what is there to say, really?
Yeah. All right, we're gonna record Good, Bad, or Bullshit episode 191 in 5, 4. Hello and welcome to the Good, Bad, or Bullshit podcast. 3 guys, unlimited opinion. The place where conversation is a foundation for higher thought or something resembling such. My name is Bo Schwartz, and I'm joined this week, as always, by the Mr. Dress Up of our show, Michael Hodgins. Michael, hello.
Hello, and that was definitely one of my go-to show as a kid. So sweet.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, just so that everyone knows, I'm the Mr. Rogers of the show, since sort of more well put together and
really. I feel like you're like the Oscar
also,
the Grouch.
But also joining us for this show is the big bird of our podcast, Crofton Steers. Crofton, hello.
I.e. the cute one. But yeah, no, Mr. Dress Up for American listeners is actually I think Canadian only. I'm not sure if he ever aired in the States, but he was also part of my children's diet as a child.
See, the funny thing about Mr. Dress Up is that it hasn't aged well like Mr. Rogers. Mr. Dress
Rogers
Up
hasn't aged well.
But then no, I'm not saying the actual show. I'm just saying if you tell somebody I watch Mr. Dress Up, it sounds like maybe you're watching something weird and not necessarily a children's show. Like you don't.
It sounds like
my
a
uncle.
children's show to
My
me.
uncle who likes to dress up in things. It's if you think about it, it's awkward. But Mr. Rogers.
Wait, if you think about it, Bo spends a lot of time in the bowels of the internet, so you have to remember that reflects in the way he thinks about simple words such as "Mister" and "dress up together."
And you
He's
don't
like,
have to
it
go.
must be an S&M outfit.
You don't have to go that deep into the bowels of the internet to find perverted stuff.
Well, I don't know. Kids like dressing up. It makes sense.
I am going to search in Google right now, Mister. I'm going to write it out, Mister Space Dress Up, and
You're gonna get like a Pornhub link.
I have no filters right now. Okay, no filters on my blocking anything. Nope. All about children's programming. Children's programming. Yep. Children's programming. Nothing dirty there, Bo. We're clear.
Do you guys remember the Friendly Giant?
Yes. Look way up.
Where he'd move the chairs around by the fireplace? I think that was also a Canadian show, so any Americans would be like, "What the hell are you talking about?" That was my American impression.
Yeah, we how many seconds are we into the show? 2 minutes into the show, and we've got some racism already.
So
All Americans sound like this, or no.
Sound like I gotta get my down south accent. Welcome, y'all. That's my American.
So
as I live and breathe. All right. Anyway,
I saw a joke on the internet the other day about how hey, did you see what Donald Trump is doing? Is it the new what's up? In terms of like everybody is talking about Trump and like it's the first thing that they say to people now. Like, hey, did you see the new crazy shit that Trump did? And I'm just wondering, this show airs like in a lag and stuff like that. So we're recording now. It's live streaming. Will be posted and go out maybe a week or so from now. My question, I'd like us to check in on every week or just maybe once in a while is, will by the time we record a new episode, Trump be impeached? My guess is looking likely, but I think that we're going to get at least one or two more episodes before impeachment.
I'm still like, because in some ways I'm like, should he not have been impeached already? And the fact that he hasn't, I feel at this point the Republican Party can't look any stupider for propping this guy up. But I feel like they're kind of just all in. I think they're just gonna ride it out until it's unavoidable. Until it's like him saying like sucking Putin's dick in the White House. they're gonna like just keep it going because they're like, we can't let a Democrat back in. We hate them too much.
So
even then, I think he might get away with it. I mean, he has Bill Clinton I mean, come on now.
He's like, Putin has a tremendous dick. It's tremendous.
So,
what are we talking
Bo,
about?
What do you think? How many episodes before impeachment?
I don't know, man. I think he runs. I still convinced he runs the whole way through. Another 3.5 years.
You're crazy. Okay, I'm gonna say 2 more episodes.
2 more, Mike. You got?
I think he's gonna make it to the fall. I hope you're right, Carlton. I mean, the guy is a fucking idiot. How he's president is still, well, it's not as surprising as it should be, but it's still
isn't
the fact that people are still supporting him well, being like, remember, we hated Hillary Clinton so much. Her emails. I don't even know what that means anymore.
Isn't the big thing that he recently said no other president has been treated worse than him?
There's no other politician in the history of the world, which is pretty funny because I've seen that quote overlaid over a picture of Nelson Mandela in prison. It just says no other politician in the history of the world has been treated worse.
I was trying to think of all the various people who have been like
assassinated,
beheaded, or killed, or like, and I'm like, yeah, Donald Trump, cry me a river.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a Trump pause just to acknowledge the fact that we realize he's heading towards his impending doom. Speaking of heading towards our impending doom, gentlemen, should we?
I think it's time for a random topic. Mike, you got your gloves on?
I do.
All right,
Get the machine going
get
here.
the machine going there, buddy. Let's do this thing. Sometimes I feel like somebody's watching me. They are on Twitch.
This almost seems like a silly topic. It's family.
Family. Na, na, na,
Well, like, let me
na,
just
na.
pause here and be like, is anyone gonna say bad? Come on.
What
Is anyone
is
gonna even say
family?
bullshit? I mean, I know people have shitty families, but like,
Whoa!
who's gonna say that as a whole? Well, no, it's true. Some people do. But are you gonna say as a thing, family is bad? Like, I'm just trying to like.
There's
I
no way
can't
you're
keep
gonna.
saying that.
There's no way you're gonna get me there if you're trying. Bo is the guy who's the most likely to just take
Yes.
an incendiary position on stuff like this.
Sometimes I wonder if it would just to be incendiary. Or
So,
Yeah.
is this a foreplay for a veto, or are we?
yeah, I'm just wondering,
forging
should we just
forth?
pull the machine again? Is it too simplistic?
I'm not in the mood for family, so we could use our veto.
But I think we got to toss it out as a topic that I don't want to see it come
we
up
can't
again
use the
next
veto
week.
often because we only have so many.
I just think when we have limited potential outcomes for topics, for verdicts, it seems a little bit like I don't know.
I don't know.
No, I do agree. I do agree with that. On the other hand, I do see the interest in discussing stuff like, the inherent obligations we have towards people just because they're necessarily family members. There's a lot that you can dissect and talk.
Oh yeah,
about.
I'd be happy to chat about it. I just think like I'm probably gonna say good, even though I could find things that are negatives or annoying.
All right. Well,
All right.
We could just bang it out really quick. That's the other option, and do a two for this episode.
That's not gonna happen for
All right.
sure.
Pull it again, Mike. Pull
All
it
right.
again. We're wasting time. Go.
Pull another one.
Pull. Sometimes I feel like somebody's watching me. Family.
Okay. No, this one I actually find interesting. Merit.
Ah.
Okay.
Merit.
So just before we talk about merit, I would say to any listeners of the show, if for whatever reason you have an interest in hearing us talk about family, because we realized we just kind of collectively decided to toss it aside, write us or goodbadbull@gmail.com or whatever, and just let us know, and we can think about it again in the future. But offhand, it didn't seem to fit. Okay, sorry.
It's a rare occurrence.
Yeah. All right, merit. So,
like, and also thinking about, I mean, this wasn't in the topic, but the term a meritocracy. People like to say, like, we live in a meritocracy. Like, you work hard, you've earned something. And this actually, I should point out, was a suggestion from listener Joe, a friend of ours who I haven't seen in quite a while. I think she's living in Africa somewhere. In any case, I think she had mentioned in the context of getting a promotion or something at work. And then it was like, everyone said to her, you deserve this. You really deserve this. And she was kind of like questioning that, like, why, what does that mean? Or
I work for the Canadian federal government, and in that, every job has what's known as a statement of merit. And so, like, it says, like, this is, these are the qualifications you need to get the job. And so, like, the idea is, like, you're rewarding people's both achievements and abilities. So, you merit something, in this case, a job. So, like, I mean, I've heard it used in a negative context as well. Like the concept of a meritocracy and I'm not sure if it's in the same way of credentialism, like in the sense that we talked about that on the show previously about how people get blocked out of things. But I feel like merit is more of an innocuous term in terms of determining if somebody's capable of doing something.
See, yeah, it's funny. I just happen to have not read. It was on a podcast where I listened to some kind of interesting stuff that relates to this, and why. In some ways, like, I'm leaning negative already on this. And here's the reason why. I guess I heard this. I was listening to Sam Harris podcast. I don't know if you guys ever listen to that guy.
Is it on CBC?
Pardon?
Who's Sam Harris?
Sam Harris, he's one of the new atheists, along with like Richard Dawkins and some other Christopher Hitchens. So he's written some books on atheism, but he's a neuroscientist, and he's been sort of famous for having like debates with prominent Christians or whatever about atheism and just like. But anyways, now he has a podcast. It's quite interesting. It's fairly like heady stuff. You need to be paying attention, sort of thing. Okay. But so he did one recently where he talked to this guy who wrote this book in the 90s called The Bell Curve, and it was essentially about IQ. And so this is again a little bit of a long story, but it's interesting. And I want to know what you guys think about it. And so there's been a lot of like debunking of IQ tests over the years, and that they've been culturally biased or all this kind of stuff. And but this guy had said they'd done super thorough controls on IQ tests, and that they essentially hold that it's the most useful thing we have to determine how smart someone is. And so how this relates to merit, and where I see the problem with it, is that it's kind of like people with high IQs, like sort of how these things corroborate each other, is that people with high IQs tend to be successful. Like if you look at like Silicon Valley, like if you go to Silicon Valley, people have high IQs generally. They're smart people there, right? They do well. They make a lot of money. They end up with a lot of power. And I guess so to me, and part of I think the takeaway from this guy's research was he's saying like what we're ending up with is a society which is inherently unfair to people who aren't as smart as other people. And essentially being that, and the thing is, and he was also saying that it's essentially almost entirely genetic. Like it's like it's one of the most heritable things you can have, is IQ. So it's like smart people tend to have smart babies and so on and so forth. Now there's a lot of cultural stuff that makes you want to say this is bullshit, but it's anyways, I would encourage anyone to go listen to the Sam Harris podcast. The title was called Forbidden Knowledge. Very interesting. And the guy was very much like, he's like, I knew this was a powder keg when I was doing it, but he's like, that's what the research said. He's like, we were super thorough and super cautious, and it kept coming up. This is what it told us. So where this relates to merit is to be like, oh, if we're in a meritocracy, so that if you achieve and are successful, you deserve it, right? And that's merit. But that's like kind of just the privilege of birth, right? Like, so if you happen to be smart, you can get into a good university, you get straight A's, you can go into law school no problem because you're a smart person. You're going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Great, good for you. You deserve it, right? And it's like, but why? It's just total like fluke of nature. You got born. Those are your genes. You happen to be smart. Great. But I see it as a real problem when we tend to reward merit, and then to be like, we're giving people in some ways, I shouldn't say like more credit than they deserve, but like it's no one's fault if they're not the brightest person around. Like some people are not that bright. I've met people who are not that bright who are good, totally good, awesome people. And what are you going to say? Like, you don't deserve to achieve, like you're never going to be successful, and that's on you. Well, it's like,
I want you to answer the question to help clarify that a bit, or your opinion or the information you're giving. I think the theory is that if you're receiving a higher education or a specialized set of education, that your greater ability is someone with that greater capacity is needed. I mean, that's what like we can't get someone who's got the IQ of a doornail researching neuroscience. That's like an ineffective match, right? So do you think it's still okay to still find the right kind of people to do this, specialized, the very tough esoteric things like research and...
Well, it's I'm thinking of it more obviously we need smart people, and there's like I don't know what my IQ is. I think I'm probably close in the mid of the bell. Like I'm not a genius, and we need those people who operate on the super high end and make like we were talking the other day. Like I don't know how a computer works, or like I'm like I couldn't do the things that people at Silicon Valley are doing, or even just things like chemistry, like making chemical products. Like I don't know how this stuff works. There are all these people who are super smart doing all this stuff.
But that's knowledge.
Well, no, it's more than knowledge. And again, this comes back to IQ, and they're saying that it's just like.
But like IQ is just some abstract. Like I have no idea what my IQ is or what anybody else's IQ is, and it's not something that I would ever think of when necessarily discussing merit. Like
Well,
the
I
whole
guess
IQ system could be its own topic on this show.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
could be, but the thing is, and again, I just happened to have listened to this thing and where this said all like the busting of IQ tests is essentially been rigorously controlled for, and and I think what he was saying was that what is how it's corroborated is that pretty much high IQ people generally do well in life. They're successful. They have merits, right? They've achieved a lot. Like he's like those things almost always line up, and that people who have lower IQs tend to have like harder time in life, shittier jobs, whatever. In some ways, a person that you'd say like this person hasn't achieved, they haven't moved ahead in the meritocracy, right? Because when we talk about a meritocracy, say like, oh, you're going to move ahead because you deserve it and you've earned it. But really, all we're doing is privileging people who happen to be born smart, and I think that that's like inherently unjust.
I don't know. I think it's a little more complicated and if anything, we're in a situation right now where the opposite. There is a sheer amount of ill will towards the elites or people that are first seen as smart, leading to the rise of folks, like Donald Trump. And you're seeing like that segmenting of the population, and definitely there's issues there that need to be resolved. But like at the same point, to Bo's point about like, if I go see a doctor, I want that doctor to know what he's doing. I don't want to be like, oh, let's give a participation or a sympathy badge to this person and make them a doctor, even though that they're, they don't have the knowledge or the intelligence or the capacity or the merit to be able to do it. So like, like if I'm erring on the side, like I'm for everybody having an opportunity, and that sort of thing. And I think that there are opportunities, there are golden spoons that are born, people are born within their mouth, silver spoons that allow them to sleepwalk into high performing jobs or opportunities. And then there's people that work really hard and stuff like that as well at all levels, and then succeed based on their performance and their merit. Same in studying in school. Like I was a B student. There's some people that busted their hump and got better grades than me, and should those people be rewarded for it? Well, I think that like more than likely yes. Like
it's true, but like if I think about it, like the guy made this analogy that I thought was really was really apt, which he was quoting someone else, but it was saying like, say take a linebackers, like the best linebacker in the NFL. To be the best linebacker in the NFL, you got to train hard, work hard, you got to have your head in the game, you got to be totally engaged. But he's like, you need to be 300 pounds. If you're not 300 pounds, you're not getting in the door, period. And so that's the same thing for intelligence. And again, so to be a doctor, like when you're saying that, it's like, it's true. Like I want my doctor to be smart, but like the average income of a doctor in like Canada is like $350,000 a year. That's merit to be like, you guys deserve this. You've worked hard, and that's true. They have worked hard, but they've had both things. You can't just work hard and they've been blessed with intelligence to start with. Like, I don't think I have what it takes to be a doctor because of both those things. I'm not 300 pounds and I don't have the work ethic. So I'm like, whatever, that's fine. But I mean, I know that I've been intelligent enough to kind of like basically coast and still do all right. Like I've had a decent job. It gets paid pretty well, and I haven't really worked hard to get it. And it's just because, and again, I'm just trying to say, like, do I deserve it? And it's this whole idea of merit, and do you merit this stuff, or is it just bullshit? Like, you're born smart, and then it's like things are going to be easy, and you're going to get good jobs, and then, you're born dumb, so life's going to be hard, and you're never going to achieve merit. You're never going to be, nothing's ever going to be merit for you because you're dumb. And I'm like, that's just unfair.
But I mean, it's unfair or perfectly fair. Like the people have put in the work to do that. Like I think you are selling yourself short when you say it's not something I can do. I think it's something that does not interest you, and therefore you chose not to do it. But I don't think like everyone has the capacity to do a lot more than just the things that they do. But to me, the point of merit is like, because everyone can't be a doctor, firefighter, businessman, tradesperson, stockbroker, like you earn merit with the specific things that you choose with your limited time on earth to do. To me, that's where merit becomes important, because I'm not a firefighter, but the guy who decides to be a firefighter and protect us, is important, and that person, deserves merit based on their commitment to performing well, to being educated on it. Like, I get what you're saying about the way we reward people, like in our social system, where it's like there are people who can't find a role or a vocation or a place in the community because they're stupid. To put it kind of inappropriately.
Yeah,
but, like,
to be blunt.
But there are a lot of people that are in that middle band that are capable of something, and you would want to recognize any person in your community, regardless of that, for the things they do that contribute to the community. And I don't just mean, did you dig ditches or are you a doctor, but do you create art that the people enjoy? That's important. Culture is important. And a lot of the esoteric things that are less traditional jobs that require intelligent people become artists for the most part. But, a lot of them, there's non-traditional ways of earning money, and, it's not a job, but they're important, and they're smart people. And as it relates to meritocracies, I just think people who, we do a podcast every week, whether or not we get paid, whether or not sun or shines, if the kids are acting up, maybe it doesn't happen, but for the most part, we deserve some merit for that fact. You can say, I've podcasted for 5 years, and that can be used as a sort of currency for any number of opportunities or things that come out of the thing you chose to do. Like, to me, that's merit. You've earned merit by doing something.
But I mean, it's like, I just wonder if you're just reframing merit to suit how you like, because I mean, to be honest, like I love doing this podcast. I'm glad we have a few listeners, but we're not a successful podcast. But I
think we are. Like,
no. I'm just trying to be honest. There are people who.
No, you're not being honest. You're framing the argument based on quantity of listeners.
Let me finish.
To say the word successful.
I'm not.
It's problematic.
I'm not trying.
I had plenty of time to talk. They don't have to cut me off.
Okay, just let me finish my thought. I'm not trying to say we're shitty. I like what we do, but we don't have. And would you say someone like?
I'm not saying that you said that. You just said we weren't successful. It's
okay,
important. It's important that that's the word you picked. It's important that's the word you picked. I'm not taking it personally. I'm trying to point out to you.
Let Mike finish his thought.
Yeah, you keep talking. No, you don't want to hear it. I mean, just like...
Because I get 2 seconds to talk, and I get talked over immediately.
Okay, go ahead. I haven't even said what my point was, but go ahead. Keep talking, I guess.
Well, the point is the word that you say that we're not successful, that speaks volumes as to how you're framing the situation. Because it's what is...
Usually...
Success is a lot of listeners.
Okay. Well, usually merit is measured. Like when somebody is given, say, an award for merit or whatever. Like, say, for example, merit. Where does merit come in podcasts? You get like a Webby Award or one of these like podcast. We're not going to get nominated for that because though we love our listeners, we don't have many of them. And some podcasts have hundreds of thousands or millions of listeners, and usually that's because they have prominence elsewhere. I mean, there's lots of examples of people who've come up on their own. That's great too. But like again again, so all I'm saying is like, but do they deserve that success? And then do we not deserve it? Because if we have like 100 listeners, and we're happy to have our listeners, honestly, really are, and we love what we're doing here. But some would say like, oh, maybe we haven't had 1 million listeners because we don't deserve it. And I would say, Bo, you're almost proving my point to be like, that's not true. I don't think that that's true. But someone else who is looking at it, measuring it, they'd say like, well, no, you're not successful. You have 100 listeners. Joe Rogan has 10 million. He's successful. He deserves success. And you guys don't because you don't have any listeners. And I'm just saying that's bullshit. Or flat out bad, and I'm like, as a way of measuring, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe.
But you're the way that you're conflating things, saying like he deserves success. It's not that nobody's saying, people aren't necessarily saying that, they're saying he is successful based on that metric. And if Bo's metric for determining success is amount of episodes as opposed to amount of listeners, because for somebody it might be the merit is a sign of commitment, like this depending on what you're trying to distinguish yourself based on, like if I'm looking to highlight my achievements to someone, maybe what's more impressive is not the amount of listeners, but the fact that I've dedicated myself to this thing for X amount of years, and we put out out that many more episodes, and that's my my merit in terms of this in this endeavor. So like it's tricky. Where I get caught up though is like when talking about meritocracy and all this sort of stuff, and like, is merit a good thing? Like, is the assessment of merit, is quantifying merit, is saying like I just think of what is the alternative. And like yes, people are born with different capacities, some mentally, sometimes it's like intelligence, other times it's financial, and that's going to continue to happen. And then you can distribute society, like the way society is and the tasks of society are distributed can be done in a very sort of like equal fashion, disregarding merit, being like, you're the weakest guy, but like you're number 7, so you're going to be digging the ditch. The strongest guy who's a little dumb, you're number 13, which in this pool says that you're going to be working the chem labs. Like to a certain extent, is that super fair? Yes, absolutely, that's fair. They pick their numbers, they get assigned a task in society. But really, does it not make more sense that the people that are good at certain things, that have qualifications and merits, are assigned to certain things? And sometimes it's natural attributes like intelligence or whatever, and sometimes it's certifications, which we've talked about separately on the show. And I wouldn't necessarily conflate the two as much, because there's some things in the certifications that really grind my gears. But yeah, like I'm leaning positively so far on merit, just because I feel like I don't see what else you would do. What's your other way of assigning tasks or dividing up society?
I don't know. I mean, and part of the reason like I'm like pushing back against this a little bit, because I do think it's a natural thing to say like that merit is a good thing. And I feel like there's definitely been times in my life where I've done well in school or whatever and been like rewarded and felt good to be like, hey, look at me, I'm top in this class or whatever the hell it was. But then sometimes I'm like, oh, that's just I'm trying to reframe it a little bit, I guess, or trying to bust it. And I think part of it is because this stuff, like kind of this, if we say like meritocracy is the best way to do things, is I think a little bit it's also like it's the structure of the world is written by the winners, and the winners are the people who kind of have the quote unquote what it takes to succeed. And I think that I was thinking about this the other day, like my wife's kind of moving up in the ranks at her job, and you are too, Crofton. You're a smart guy as well, and been pretty successful at your career. And generally, maybe this isn't true for you.
Oh, go on.
And so this is anyway. So she's doing this, and she's finding that she had a boss say, "Oh, you should apply for this job," which is yet a step higher than she already is. And she was like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to do this," but like people know she's smart and she's good. She's but she's kind of like, I'm gonna have to work like 60-hour weeks, 80-hour weeks. This is what that job is. And I'm like, and then I asked the question to her, like, is that just the way it seems to go? It seems to me that it is. The higher up you go, like when I had directors at work or director generals, they were always at work. Everyone's working 50, 60 hours all the time, 70 hours. And I'm just like, so that's part of what it takes to deserve it, to get ahead, to get those high ranking jobs. And then it occurred to me that I'm like, but so if you're the type of person that comes naturally to you to pour yourself into career and to have that drive and to not want, say, balance in your life because you love that one thing and you can focus 100%, then you're going to get to positions of decision making and of power in society. And people who, like me, are types that I'm like, I'm happy to work at whatever a little bit, and then I like to do something else on the side, and then I'd like to spend more time with my kid or my family. I spread it around. And I think of Bo is another example who I've really respected some of his life choices, and I think of Bo is quite a smart guy. I'm sure his IQ would actually be quite high, but he's made choices to be like, he's gone more towards things that he's passionate about rather than just like cut down the middle career moving ahead. And that's risky, but I'd say society's less likely to reward you, and that's merit, to reward you for taking those kinds of risks. Now, and there's outliers that will rise to the top, but as a general thing, the people who, like we say, have merit, we're like doctors, lawyers, are just like people who tend to be born smart, have that natural drive, and that's all kind of like that's the luck of your draw with genetics. And that's what gets rewarded. And I think it's because the people at the top, those are all those type of people. They decide how it is. And so it's self-fulfilling.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're talking about different types too. That's because there's institutional merit, and then there's just there's merit in a lot of walks of life. Like, and if you're blue collar dudes, your merit is kind of like your reputation, things that you know. It's not documented on a piece of paper, but you might have worked on X project, or this guy knows you and vouches for you. Like, merit comes in many shapes and forms. We can talk about institutionalized merit and say it's bullshit. I think we had the public education system. I hate marks. It's a form of merit. It's dumb. Crofton, you wanted to jump in, yeah?
That's it. No, that's a good point, Bo. That's good, because I was thinking about this game Overwatch that I've been playing, and in Overwatch, the way it works is that so it's a team-based shooter, so you're on teams and whatever, and you level up just by playing the game. So just by playing, your character gets awards, like he gets a little like star next to his name once he gets high enough. He gets a nice little frame around his face, and so he's getting like these meritorious awards, if you want. It makes you look like a bigger deal when you get into the screens. You're like, oh, this guy is like, look, he's being recognized because he's got like 3 stars and a whatever thing. But all it's rewarding really is your time played. And it actually in no way reflects your performance. And so meanwhile, you could be technically more proficient, have more skill and ability at the game, but this person is ranked higher in all the sort of ways that they present the character. And so like there's 2 types of the recognizing of merit, and people talk about this often in terms of jobs. Like, I worked a job at one point where seniority was a really big deal. Like, it wasn't like your skill or your ability or your worth to the company. It was how long you had been at the company. And it was like, oh, Joe gets a window seat because he's been here for like 20 years, or, Sam. Meanwhile, like in another organization, like where I am now, it's like the window seats are the managers, because they're considered the most senior staff, the staff most deserving based on merit and performance. So it's like those are 2 different kind of ways of like valuing merit. One is time served, and one is your ability.
Yeah. You probably all know those employees too that have served a lot of time that feel that they have merit but have not been given the access to the things they want. Worked here for 20 years and all I get is a window seat. I should be manager of this place. Blah, 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 blah. And actually, generally, that attitude tends to work against you for opportunities, because you turn into a cynical, jaded douche, basically.
Absolutely. No, I think generally if somebody is not advancing in an organization, and there are situations obviously where people are being held back or whatever, but if you have the capacity and the merit to make that that step forward in your career or whatever, you will. But to have stuff handed to you just based on time served is like it's another way of looking at things. And some would say that that's a type, that's seniority and recognition of time served, that's another type of merit. And even like when applying for jobs or different things, sometimes it'll say in the statement of merit in my jobs, it'll say like 5 years doing this or 10 years doing this. So it's not just the ability to do it, it's you have to have done it for X amount of time. And that's like, so I find that's another angle in terms of like looking at the coin of what merit is. There's the guy who's just able to code C++. He's amazing. He's a naturally gifted guy. He can just do it. So he has that ability. He already can demonstrate merit in that regard, whereas I couldn't do that to save my life. But then, like he's fresh out, he's fresh out of school. Does that mean like the world's his oyster, or do you go with the guy who may not be as have as high ceiling in terms of performance, but has been working in the industry for 5-10 years, can also code C++, but maybe isn't up to date on all the trends? So like these are like in terms of what's valued by society, it depends who you ask.
Well, and even that, so you raise some points that definitely like tweak me in ways of like that annoy me. Like, so when you talk about like applying for jobs, I tend to think of myself as kind of like a ruthlessly honest person. So like when I look at job applications and there's a list of like essential requirements, I'll look through them and I think I'm like, if I were to look through them and be honest, I'm like, I don't qualify for any job because it's like it'll be like 5 years of this and this and this, and I'll be like, no, I don't have that because like I've not worked the job that they want to fill, right? I've worked other jobs, and it's been like that for every job. And people's like, well, you got to massage, the resume, but I mean that's sort of how merit is done. It's like, so when you talk about the time served, I thought it was an interesting thing because I think career movement is at least partially that. Have you put in the time here or there, and then it feels like you're being boxed out that either if you can't massage your resume or that it's like you're not given the opportunities or it can feel that way to be like, because oftentimes I'm like, I can do any job. Like I'm a smart enough person, I can learn anything in a couple of weeks to do it well. Like I really feel like that with most any jobs, and I've done a lot of random things. Some things are beyond me, like theoretical mathematician. I would be like, cannot do it. Period.
Do you think you could be a greasy car salesman? Because it's less about knowledge and more about lifestyle and attitude.
Well,
and
I mean, honestly,
I don't think you merit that either.
Well, I probably could do sales. I could definitely do mechanic work. I could definitely done construction work. I could do all kinds of policy work. Like I could do all kinds of stuff like that. It's usually like, but the thing is, I don't have the merit in the sense that usually someone, when they're trying to break it down, is looking for like.
I want to break down what you're saying just a little bit further to say I agree. I think you could do a lot of those things, but like I bring up the used car salesman because yes, you could do sales, but could you excel in the way that we think of like screw people? Because you're a brutally honest person. That means you probably don't have the merit. You could do sales, but you couldn't do the kind of I'm going to rip this guy off and get my commission sales, which in that culture would be you failing to have merit. So while you can do a lot of different things, I think there is something to be said for scaling of, yes, you can drive a truck, but can you get to Toronto in under 4 hours and do the Toronto run or whatever? I'm making stuff up. But, truckers probably have like a hidden code when you're a real trucker or not. Like if you ever had, if you do truck companions or not, maybe that's a rite of passage. I don't know. Help me. So you guys, isn't there trucker stuff? There's trucker stuff. There's trucker things that you have to know to be a good trucker.
CB radio stuff. Yeah. I don't know.
Don't know CB radio. Can't be a good trucker. You can drive a truck, but can you CB?
Soon the trucks will all drive themselves.
I guess the point is just that like I think there's some usefulness to merit. I like the idea that the things I do, regardless of whether they seem to have any kind of immediate impact, are important experiences that do matter, I guess, to other people in unrelated situations. Like it's funny, it all comes down to choice. Like to me, the idea of merit is just like, what do you choose to do and how hard do you choose to apply yourself to the thing that you're doing? Because if you choose to do something that you don't apply yourself too hard to, while you might earn the merit, as in Crofton's Overwatch time played, you may not earn the kind of merit to even though you put a ton of time in to really excel at it. And I think that's why it's important for everyone when they choose to do things, that they choose to do things that matter to them, regardless of what other people think, because that you have the best chance at excelling at whatever it is you're doing. And if you accept less of your life, then that's what you do, and you'll have the basic merits. But I don't think in any field you get the big merits without really applying yourself. And I think I don't know if our system's based on that 100%. I don't like institutionalized scores and stuff, but in the interview process, there are opportunities for you to display your individual uniqueness in a good organization anyways. And
yeah, that's true. And like getting interviews, and I've had this conversation with Crofton before because I know Crofton interviews well, and I know
Crofton's great at everything. Well. He's got all the merits, right?
No, he's good at everything. But honestly, like I haven't even been in many interviews in my life, but I've either always got the job or have had people say like, we actually really wanted to hire you, but this person had like 5 years more experience and we had to go with them or whatever, like that. And it's kind of interesting. It made me think this is still sort of related, comes back to that IQ thing, but that guy, and again, this coming back to like what really is merit. The guy who was doing that whole thing about IQ tests and just sort of general intelligence, and he was saying if you were hiring someone and you only had one thing you could ever look on, just hire the person with the highest IQ. And you'll always hear these stats about people with a good sense of humor tend to have higher IQs, and on and on. They tend to be more personal, easier to get along with. All these things are correlated, and like if you know nothing else, who cares what their experience are? If they have a high IQ, they'll probably do okay in the job you want. Doesn't matter what it is, and it's like, so again, to be like, well, then is that how we should? Is that so? If we are really in a meritocracy, is that how we should just do it? Everyone on the top half of the bell curve get the good jobs because you're actually going to be better at those things instead of just
because
working the system?
see, that's the exact opposite of meritocracy, because you're saying like, instead of being like who has merit in each of these areas, you're saying like, let's look at a general, some random score, like there's some science behind that says that there's a capacity, and then we're going to give everyone the best jobs based on that capacity. The concept of merit is like, if you are good at something, then probably you should be, that should be acknowledged either by your work, or like by you in terms of pursuing a career in that position.
But again, I just want to come back to because what you're saying, it's almost like we're almost saying the same thing. We're just coming at it from the opposite way. Because again, this guy's research said was, he said those things are massively corroborate each other, like more so than any kind of coincidence could matter. Which is to say, if you could look at it the way I looked at it, say just give the good jobs to people with high IQs, or you could say no, don't think about IQ, think about performance, how hard you've worked, all building the career. And then if you took that and said, okay, we'll assign merit that way, and then you did IQ tests, you'd find you still had the people on the top half of the bell curve. That he said that's what it is like.
But no, because the difference between that is you can have 8 people with similar IQs that have completely different aptitudes and abilities. Just because somebody has a high IQ doesn't mean, like, I guarantee that I have the highest IQ of the 3 of us and that I'm super smart, right? Mm-hmm. But like, that doesn't mean that I'm the best at math. And I know that I know that of the 3 of us, there's a guarantee that that's not.
That you scored so well at IQ sure? and failed the math section?
This is a hypothetical situation.
No, I just want you to follow this through, because you're the smartest. So you're not the best podcaster? Here's what you're saying. You're saying I'm the smartest.
No, I am
not the best on this show.
I am the best podcaster. But
again, you've just proven my point. Keep going.
No. Would you just listen for a second? I'm just saying that, like, I am not necessarily uniformly good at everything, just most things. So those things that I'm not good at, I don't have the merit for, and it shouldn't be me who is chosen for those tasks. It should be somebody that is better suited. And there could be somebody with the exact same IQ as me that is well suited to those tasks, but not like the numerous things that I'm really good at, right? So I'm just, I guess my thing is, like, I don't think the abstract concept of IQ, like all of them, there could be a big group. You can lump a big group of people with a similar label and that sort of thing. But really, people are individuals, and the idea is, in a meritocracy, is you look at who is best able to fill a position. And intelligence across the board, if you replace the term IQ with just intelligence, is important. It's an important thing, and it's a thing that's valued. I think that it should be, but like, you can have different types of intelligence and sometimes, like, I have some friends, I'm not going to name them, might not have the most intelligence, but have tremendous ability in certain areas as well. Like, ability that I don't necessarily have, ranging on anything from like auto mechanics to like organizational abilities and stuff like that. And if they have those abilities should be tapped into, even if their IQ isn't the highest. I think that the linkage is.
All right. We've got the point. And I think Mike.
Really good.
I think Mike agrees with you. Actually, I think what Mike's trying to say is that the world doesn't, not him himself. I think, and I think what he's also saying, though, is that we do have a branch of mathematics called statistics. And I know you're familiar with this. In generally speaking, we make informed decisions not based on feel, but on statistics. So if there is a correlation between high IQs and performance that's measurable by people who conducted the research, that's seen as science and seen as kind of incontrovertible in a way. It's like, well, we've demonstrated that there is a tendency over a long period of time with a large sample size that this is true. So why shouldn't we make meritocracy over this? I think we all feel the same way, which is what you said. But I think there is an argument to be made to say, well, statistically speaking, and you correct me if I'm wrong when I'm just about to wrap up. Mike, you'll correct me. Statistically speaking, the higher IQs or higher performance testing people perform better in those specialized roles, those higher roles deserving of more pay. And so let's organize ourselves that way. Am I on the right track?
Well, yeah, it is funny because I really think so much of this is just how you look at it. Because everything Crofton said, he was trying. Maybe he's not so good at being humble because he was trying to say how he was the best at everything, but maybe not the best at everything. He's like, well, everything, but just not all everything.
He has a hard time with the concept of everything. It's hard to see. It's hard to watch.
but he did say one thing, and that it was like, because he said like, yeah, I have people with high IQ, but they might not have the aptitude. And it's funny because there's also, you've heard the term aptitude test, which is basically like they're a kind of IQ test. But and once again, to be like, what's the right aptitude? Like a lot of things have come easily for me because I've had no problem, say, public speaking, right? I can talk in front of a crowd. It's never, but some people are phased. They cannot do that, right? And it's like, that's just aptitude, right? And it's like, I didn't try to do that. I never thought like, oh, I'll work hard to be comfortable talking in front of a crowd. I was able to do it. And now again, so should I be rewarded for that? To be like, oh, you have access to this type of jobs. And I mean,
it's not rewarded.
Well, okay,
like you're thinking about it is in terms of an individual giving you something. You're like, should you be placed in positions where those skills will be utilized? I would say the answer is yes if you want them.
Right. I guess the thing is, I think we keep saying the same thing. We just have different angles on the view of it. And again, all I'm saying is that things like aptitude and intelligence or whatever, which correlate highly to success and merit and achieving and all those things, are largely things that you didn't do anything to get. Like you just got them because that's how you are, and that's fine. And again, I want to just come back to like trying to take like the worst example. And again, how our society has kind of realizing that this kind of merit stuff is sort of bullshit a little bit. Is someone who's born with like severe mental, severely mentally challenged, and it'd be like, what do you do with that person? Now in the olden days you'd just be like, let them die, or they're a burden to their families till they do die. That's it. But now we're starting to realize as a society, like, well, look, everyone, you can't just do that. Like, it's not their fault, right? That they can't contribute to society or whatever. We take care of those people to differing degrees around the world. And I think generally people are trying to say like, we should do more for those people. And again, I think in a meritocracy, a pure meritocracy, you say like, well, they got nothing to contribute. Just let them, in a pure meritocracy, you'd be like, they're dumb. They can't even feed themselves or whatever. They have nothing to contribute. Let them go. And so already we're moving away from this. And those, I think an example like that's important because there are people like that and we take care of them now and try to find ways in which they can contribute. But that's not a pure meritocracy, and merit is really just like, can you perform? Can you do it? What do you deliver?
I disagree because I think you're conflating things like a state being willing to take care of the most vulnerable citizens and stuff like that. It's not like it doesn't mean that I'm going to make those citizens like the president or run the country or
fair enough.
You're like there are, in terms of, you're talking about merit in terms of what it's rewarding me, what it's giving me, what it's giving, but like what it is like, what is beneficial to society? Is it beneficial to society to have the people that are the most competent in certain areas working in those areas, or that have the most aptitude in certain areas to be working in those areas? Or does it make more sense to just evenly divide it, or to give like, Joe, who has unfortunate mental handicaps, like high profile positions, even though he doesn't have the aptitude or capacity, or just a regular position? For me, it's just like, I think it's if you're going to be trying to advance society as much as possible, you want the best people in the best positions. Now, who are the best people? How do you gauge that? You gauge that through aptitudes, through intelligence, through all these sort of things. And then once you have that society, that high-performing society, how do they take care of the most vulnerable, how they bring people up and all that sort of stuff who are on the lower rungs of society. I think that that's really important, and those are things that I really highly value as well.
Yes, let me jump back.
Okay.
Let me jump back in because so I use that example because it was extreme, but I guess that's like the people. If you're looking at the bell curve, those are the people at the far bottom end who are operating at like, a childlike IQ in adulthood. But think of the swath of people who are up from there and who you wouldn't classify as someone who you might just say that person's lazy and kind of dumb and they don't try hard. But it might just be that, like, yes, maybe they're not like completely an invalid, but they just might not have the capacity to do anything else aside from a very menial job. And again, what I'm coming back to in my problem with merit is we say, they don't get any money, they don't get any power, is what we say. And it's like, you're smart and you have good aptitudes. Here's money, here's power. And that's my problem with it. Again, to just be like, if we believe in an equal society, and I agree with what you're saying, yeah, I want my doctor to be smart. You shouldn't have someone like Donald Trump running a country. Like, those are all things that are totally logical and we should do. But it shouldn't always be that, okay, you're not the brightest apple, so you're always going to have a shitty job. You're never going to have any security in your retirement. Your life's always going to be hard for you because you don't have any merit. And I just feel like that sucks. That sucks for those people because it's nice to be smart, but most people didn't do anything to get smart. You have the ability to learn or remember things, and your brain works in a different way, and that's great. But everyone's different, and some people can't operate in that level. Anyway, I'm ready for my verdict.
I see what you're saying. It's a form of eugenics. Like, if we were strictly, your mic is muted, Crofton, in case you're wondering. If we were strictly giving out money based on, say we had, I don't know, the heavens parted and some magical being gave us the test, incontrovertibly evaluates us, and we give you pay and job opportunity, and as Mike said, power and money based on that scale, it is eugenics. We are saying genetically you have hit here on the lottery of eugenics, and in a meritocracy, that's how it works, and that's why Mike says it's problematic. I understand it. It's an interesting argument.
Mike's saying eugenics. I'm not saying
no,
that.
I'm saying eugenics is problematic.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I know that's what you're saying is problematic. I'm not saying that there's any eugenics in play. I'm like saying that in an ideal society, like right, for merit, once you have successfully, you're always driving society, putting people who have the best attributes and abilities in that. Mm-hmm. Then from there, they should be looking to lift the most vulnerable people up. Like, I don't think those two things are unrelated. There will always be vulnerable people, and there will be people. Mike gave an extreme example, but even people of like lower education and all that sort of thing. There should always be collective efforts made by the collective to help and improve the lot of everyone else. I'm a big believer in that, and not all political ideologies are, right? But I don't think the two are unrelated. But I do think the concept of merit when you have a position that needs filling, or when you're looking to do something, you look to the people that can do it as opposed to just giving it to somebody as sort of a participation or like an equal type deal is not necessarily the best way.
Bo finishes. He was.
No, it's okay. I mean, I'm ready for verdicts too. We can roll it in.
And the one last thing I want to mention.
Mike wasted note. Oh, you're done? Okay.
No, because I thought you were going to go on and then cross. But this was one because we didn't mention hilarious. This at all, and I do think this is at play with merit is luck, and luck is a thing. So it's like you can have like the right, you can be a smart person, you can be perfect for a job, and you might happen to apply for it at the same time someone who is actually a little better than you, a little smarter, a little more, and that just could be bad luck, because it could be that if you had applied for that job a cycle the year before, you might have been the best. And I think that kind of stuff, you can never know when and how it affects you, but it affects us all the time. Like, opportunities come up, and sometimes things flow for you. Luck is for sure a huge thing. Aside from the fact that saying like just being born with good genes, but also being born with money. You know, like a lot of merit, like someone like Donald Trump, like you just ask him if he deserves to be president. I know what he'll tell you. Yes, I fucking deserve to be president is what he'll say. But I mean, the luck is that he was born into an extremely wealthy family. He had a leg up to become successful, whatever. That's luck, you know? And so that plays a huge part too. And I also think that's bullshit. But anyway,
But see,
okay.
but the yeah, like the luck. The luck thing is like you have to subscribe to the concept of luck, like if you believe in that or not. Because like the other argument, when you have the two guys that are applying and one guy is slightly more qualified or has more merit, well, you know, that guy had more merit, so that's why they went with him. I guess you can be like, oh, it's unlucky you applied at the same time, or you could just say like, in this particular instance, you did not have the most merit. There's this funny meme that's gone around, like around the time that Donald Trump was elected, that listed sort of the merit of Barack Obama becoming president versus Donald Trump's. And it was like Barack's was very had to deal with this and that and like all this giant list of things, and then on the Donald Trump side it said be rich and white, like as like
Yeah.
as his very, and both of them became the president of the United States, like, and I think that like most people could look back and be like, which one of those two people, had to scratch and claw harder to become president of the United States? Who has, higher intelligence or higher, capacity or aptitudes and all this? And who would you want steering the country? And I would say, looking at that extreme example, you would probably say Barack Obama most of the time. But at the same time, I take the point that if you take it to its nth degree, it could become very clinical, and there are dangers associated with that. So I want to say that I do understand that point.
I would say not to open another can of worms, but elected officials in any democracy is not a meritocracy. Anyways, it's more of a contest, I think, because whoever's got the better marketing tends to win, and there's other factors, I think.
Well, it's funny because the politics thing is an interesting thing, just because of like, if you look at those things, because in my mind, I'd be like someone, that Donald Trump, Barack Obama thing, I'd be like Barack Obama. I would say, like, again, merit to be, he deserved to be president is what I'd say. Whereas I think, I'm biased, obviously, Trump did not. I'd also say Bush did not. And I would arguably say that our Prime Minister Trudeau does not, because his father was Prime Minister. This is bullshit. Like, does he deserve to be Prime Minister? Well, his dad was Prime Minister. We all know his name. That's a kind of a load of crock. Whereas someone who comes up on their own, you'd say they deserve it. And again, that's the way we dish out merit, and to say that person deserved it because they work hard, or say that person didn't deserve it because it was given to them. And that's part of this debate as well.
Yeah. No.
I'm still ready to give my verdict.
Yeah, let's do verdicts. We're an hour and in. That went by really fast.
We deserve it.
I don't know.
I want a long-serving medal.
All right, let's bring in the farm animals.
Achievement earned.
Order in the court. It's time for verdicts. I have to go first, I think, because I'm going to do the next bit. That's how we do this. All right. So I had a little thought while you guys were talking in that last bit, too, about the whole merit question. And I was thinking about babysitters. Now, I don't have a kid, and I don't know if you guys actually use a third-party babysitter like a person, but I feel like a babysitter is a good example of a person that kind of doesn't need to be very smart to do the job, and yet you want someone trustworthy and awesome to do it, and you don't want to break your bank doing it. It's weird. What are the merits of a babysitter? Definitely important job. They are caring for the most important things in your life, and they're fragile. And they also, it's a position where you can influence the person, so the character is important. And yet, I don't know that babysitters tend to all have high IQ. We can say it's a wide-ranging spread, I think, in many cases. And the babysitters I've known in my life from my parents, pretty not smart. Just, based on my experience of them. And so the point being is that I think that's an important job, and I think where Mike sort of swayed me a little bit on this is that it's your most important. Your children are so important. Why isn't it a smart person in that role, or why don't we reward or consider them culturally as important as a doctor, or as important as someone who makes a lot of money, or as a president, or anything like that? And that's a really interesting thing. The babysitter is probably going to be more important in your life and in your children's future than, say, I don't know, the fireman or the police chief or the doctor even. Might be more important than your own doctor, or more impactful to you in your life. So that makes me feel weird about meritocracy, where I start off the show, I was going to say it's good and had a solid good. I haven't been moved to bad, but I'm definitely going to say that there's bullshit in merit. So we're going with bullshit on Team Bo. And where's the bullshit sound? There you go. It's official. I put a shit-shaped stamp. A shit-shaped stamp on meritocracy.
Hell yeah, Bo.
Bullshit.
I think I should go next because okay. I'm gonna have the same verdict. Merit is bullshit. Just let the cow shit on it. Now, I can't go as far as saying bad, which believe me, I want to do, because I do think there's because in part of me, and again, I don't want to sound cocky, but like I was born kind of smart, and that's made a lot of things easy for me. But I'm like, but I can acknowledge that's bullshit. You know, it's like that's luck. Great, good for me. And I've had decent jobs, and a lot of things have gone my way, and I think that's just because I've been kind of smart. I'm not super smart, but I'm smart enough that things have been relatively easy. And some people got to try and struggle all their whole lives just because they weren't born like that. And that's how what a meritocracy does. And I think that's bullshit. Why I can't say bad, and I want to say bad because I'm like, oh, it's just because, as Crofton rightly pointed out, I hate to give him any credit, but he often deserves it. He's a smart fellow. Is to be like, you know, I don't know what to replace it with. You know, I don't want to be, you don't want your nuclear physicist job to be randomly assigned to someone who's going to be like, oh God, I don't want that job. You have to have someone who is capable of doing it. And a lot of times that's just going to be the smartest person. And yes, that's a privilege. And yes, that's sort of luck of the draw. I think, and this kind of comes back to my whole worldview, we need better, more even distribution of things like wealth, to stop being like, hey, doctors make $350,000 and you work at McDonald's, you make $20,000 and your life's going to suck and that's all you can do. That's not right. And I'm kind of like, if you have what it takes to be a doctor, you should be happy to do it for $100,000 or $120,000 or whatever. That's good living. That's good money, I think. You know, that's where we need to make the movement. And that's why I think it's bullshit, because we just pile the money and the power onto the people who it comes easily to. And we make everyone else struggle, and that's bullshit. So that's where I stand. Double bullshit.
It's funny because when this topic came out, I was like, I don't understand how this could be anything other than good. And I was listening to what you guys were talking about, and I found you conflated a lot of different things in with merit. And sometimes I would be like, I still don't understand. I'm like, because you're both very clear on things. And how negative it is. And I was like, no, it doesn't. And even when Mike's giving his verdict and he's like, well, I think of what I'd replace it with. And instead of finding the most competent person to do a job, like if there was only some other better way to do it, but instead, it's about not giving money to the richest and breaking it up more equally. And that's a different thing. That's like economical systems. Like we're talking about merit in terms of like, what you're competent in being able to do to a certain extent. So when Bo was using the babysitter example too, I was like, well, if you were hiring a babysitter, I don't know what intelligence and if they're smart or not has anything to do with anything. It'd be like, what are my requirements for a babysitter? Like it must be super personable, must be caring, must do, this. And I would want the babysitter that has the most merit to meet my qualifications, and then I would get the best babysitter, and it might not be the same person who's the nuclear physicist. As to them getting paid different amounts, like, yeah, I mean, jobs are valued differently in society, and there is a big conversation to have there. We had a lot of it on the Credentialism podcast, and I don't necessarily agree with the who gets how much money in that. And it is, and Mike's points about, like, yeah, like being born a certain way. I was born in to a parent that wanted to learn French desperately, so he sent his kids to French school. So voila, I know French. Just one of my many skills. And so, like, that's something that I just benefited from a situation. And yeah, in a way, it's a bit of a luck of the draw. The rich getting richer if you want, but like in terms of like use how we assign roles and responsibilities in society, I feel like assessing who has the best aptitudes and qualifications to do things is the best way. And then it's up to those people afterwards to work to lift up the rest and allow them to sort of, develop and gain aptitudes or find fulfillment in their life as well. But I do think the concept of merit is very important, because I don't want, my doctor or nuclear physicist or president of the United States to be someone completely incompetent, right? So, and that word is used because they don't have the merit to do the job. So for me, merit is good. I'm just going to say it. Merit's good.
All right. All good points. I think we all merit praise for the work we've put in here today. And I think, merit an email or two. So if you'd like to... For our listeners, if you have some opinions on the subject of merits, this was an incendiary conversation. I think we each took turns being temporarily frustrated with each other, like momentarily, the whole way around. There was no alliances.
It happens. I realize Crofton's a eugenicist.
Anyways, hang on.
Like
save it. I got to do the thing.
Lori?
I have to do the thing. You can respond later, okay? So we merit your email. Send them to us at goodbadbull@gmail.com. We'd love to read them on the air. Again, that's goodbadbull@gmail.com. If you thought the show was cool, want to find out more about it, go to our website, goodbadbull.com. There you can find links to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play. There's an RSS feed. We're on Twitter at goodbadbull. We're on Facebook. Like us on our group there and get a discussion going. Every now and then there is a little discussion on one of our posts. And you can support our show along with the people who support it on Patreon. We call them our patrons over at patreon.com/goodbadbull. People chip in $1 a month or more to help pay for server costs and show their support and fealty of the show. One might say they find we have merit and are awarding us with a small donation to our
You deserve an award
show.
for how many times you've got that in there. But
Do I merit an award? Great. So that's all kind of concluded. Again, goodbadbull.com. All of our business is there. You can find me on Twitter at Bo Schwartz. And if you'd like to find out more about what Mike's up to, the kind of things he does, what he likes to do, Mike, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Well, I tell you, I'm not achieving much on Twitter. Tell you that much. If you want to see me not deserving merit, follow me at ML Hodgins.
Okay. I think you merit a follow because, like I said, they're few and far between, but they're very good tweets. If you want to find out what Crofton's up to, maybe you can find out what you can do to show how he deserves merit on the social media.
You can follow me at Crofton Steers on Twitter, and technically I merit the most followers, but yet Bo has the most. So please help me fix that.
That's not how you earn merit. That's the worst way to go about earning merit is to go shit on someone else, right? You're just like, listen, I deserve that job because that guy sucks. You're supposed to be like,
it's sad.
I deserve it because I'm a nice guy and I accomplished all my goals this month. That'd be really cool if I got the promotion, not that guy, even though they have seniority. I think I merit it more because I've contributed a lot.
What's your Twitter, Bo?
I've already said it at the top at Bo Schwartz. I got it out of the way. It didn't merit much time or lamenting, I think. Because I've got
I
plenty.
think
We need to give out some to Crofton and Mike who deserve some.
it's
as
funny.
well.
When I was calling Crofton eugenicist, because when he was saying his final thing, and he's like, the doctors and the lawyers at the high stakes who take care of the dumb underlings, and those doctors will have sex with each other and get smarter and smarter through successive generations until
not
we
at
have
all.
a super race
That
taking
is
care of our
not
dumb
at
underlings who
all
are
what I
incapable
said.
of achieving anything. I'm like, yes, Crofton. He's like, what we need is a program of breeding in order to bring those people to higher levels.
This is why Mike needs to go after me. I wanted him to go after me because I knew he couldn't stand not having the final word. One thing I will say is that about topics like this, I've noticed like what I call Mike Hodgins topics, the ones that are like very theoretical and like you're having to think about it. Is there often slow burns off the beginning? Like we take a while to talk about it. We sort of like look at every piece and then by the end we're just like we're rolling into it and want to kill each other.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That's always the end goal.
That's a sign of a good show when there's dramatic tension. That's
But
sparks
the
are flying.
beginning, I do feel like it's one of those ones where like if you dissected it and looked at the beginning, you'd see we were kind of like, and then it just starts rolling and rolling.
I mean,
or
I think
whatever,
it was
so.
a good idea. I think Mike was onto something by vetoing family. I think that was good. I like that we talked about this. It's good to know who the eugenists are in your circle of friends.
Bo, I wouldn't have you breed with anyone.
I'm the opposite of a eugenist. I want everyone to come together in one mind, and that way.
There was a pun, wasn't it? Everyone coming together.
What's the pun, you dirty?
Oh,
perv?
you dirty bastard!
Yeah, Bo, you sick bastard.
It like so many things though. It makes me think of that movie Idiocracy.
Yeah.
I think about that movie all the time, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's just
No,
like.
sure. Did I not mention? I was thinking about it very heavily. If I did not mention it on the show, I meant to when talking about Trump and stuff like that. But it is.
It goes without saying. It goes
Camacho.
without saying.
Did you guys see recently that The Rock has indicated that he may be thinking about running for president?
Look, President Camacho is like 50 years away. It's gonna be actually that guy.
But when it was The Rock, he's a actual pro wrestler. Donald Trump has just dabbled in it. I was like, my first thought was, oh man, I hope he does, because then it won't be Trump anymore. And then I'm like, oh my God, this is where we're at. I'm hoping that The Rock will run for president. I'm like, oh
that's
God.
how President Camacho comes to be. Is the alternative is Trump.
So
It's
bad.
Trump. They're like, we need someone, anybody. I'm President
Too bad
Camacho. I'm
Camacho
a porn
gets
star and
dead.
a wrestler. I love.
Yeah, all he's missing is the porn star, and then he would be president. He would be President Camacho.
Yeah, President Camacho is a porn star. You can't forget that part. It's important.
No, but I think he's a professional. I think he actually in this movie is a wrestler / porn star.
Yes,
Like, he's
that's right.
both of
He does
them.
both. Yes, that's right.
That movie was really ahead of its time. And it's honestly, it's not just this topic. There's a lot of topics
Oh
where I'm
yeah.
thinking about that.
No one deserves to be president more than President Camacho.
All right, good show, you guys. Good show. I'll find a place to cut it off there.
I didn't even complain.
What we
about-
should do, you should definitely have the picture for the show be President Camacho when he's riding his giant trike.
Okay, I'll make a
Just
note of
Google
it.
an image of it.
I'll make a note of it somewhere.
I just-
I have to look at
I
a
feel
picture of
like-
President Camacho now.
That's a good idea.
President Camacho images. I like that it's Terry Crews. You are. I'm just
He's like got a machine gun.
Dwayne Elizondo Mountain Dew Herbert Camacho for president.
Mountain Dew, oh, right? Because everyone had ads in their name. I like how he's giving everyone the finger too. Like he's just giving people the
He's yeah, no,
the
it's
best movie ever.
President Camacho.
There's images of him next to Trump that people have mashed up.
What's that doing to you?
Apparently, there's a GIF. Oh, people have done a GIF with his face on him. Okay.
Oh. Yeah, no. Anyway, it's just, hey, how's just as a quick, Mike, how's sleeping going with Gwen? Is it with
right.
Ivan? Are you out of the room?
Wait. Let me say bye to the live stream, folks. So I don't have
Oh
to...
yeah, live stream.
Sorry, live stream.
Yeah,
My
live-
bad.
They don't want to hear about our parenting.
Live streamers, viewers, thanks for watching. People watching the VOD, thank you. I hope you guys have a
Thank
good
you,
night.
live stream.
It was,
You deserve
great
our
hanging with you, G.
thanks.
Thanks for watching. I'm gonna write that.
Of course,
in the chat.
Crofton would have to have
You
you
can
have a
all
genetics
join my
test
master
before-
race.
So inappropriate.
You've already passed the first aptitude test.
So inappropriate. All right. Good night, folks.
Good night. Thanks for watching.
Taint.